too smooth, that mud talking to have your ass in a wreck. Who's signing your check? Pussy better do what he says. We shutting down shows. Ain't gotta put no price in your head. Man, I'm coming for your tongue for all that shit that you said.
Gunna makes the profiles boom, 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 boom. What it is, I'm gonna tell you exactly what it is, and I'm gonna tell you exactly what it ain't. What it ain't is no added preservatives and no bullshit. What it is real talk by a real one, telling you real stories in real life. Now, I felt that if for no other reason, I should continue the narrative from which I spoke on the other day in a menudo style in direct fashion. We're going to get straight into it, as you can tell by that thumbnail. Part 2. Part 2 of my profile, okay? We went from my YA years in part 1, and I told you all about the wigglization in YA and how it all went down for me. And so I was scared the struggles, the hardships, the directives that were being thrown my way, how I handled and maintained as a young norteño striving down south as well as up north. And now I'm getting out, right? I'm getting out. And as you can tell by that thumbnail, I was like, dude, with the brocha y todo my, the canalismo, the embracement, the advancement for one was real. I was trying to advance through the ranks of being a norteño gang member, and I did. Okay, now if you watch Gunner's Collective, just like Gunner's Profiles, I dropped a video today about the time I got shot in my head. So I'm going to fast forward past that, and we're going to get to the business. So I'm getting out. I'm getting out, and of course, man, I go through my trials and tribulations. Upon getting out, I get shot in the back of the head. Refer to Gunner's Collective's video today. And let's move past that. I'm back out of the hospital. Everything is good. I'm chilling in the hood like I really should with the homeboys. The shit don't stop, okay? The Mongolian didn't get cut off, okay? I was still banging the norte. I was still about my people. Okay, now I've always been about my people. Even today, I am about my brown people. It's something that has been instilled to me since I was a young child. I have a lot of familia that push reform for the brown gente, but for all gente, indigenous people, the gabas that don't have it good, Africanos. Man, I got a tío that's a Muslim from the Nation of Islam that is a righteous individual that's out there slinging bean pies like a motherfucker in real life. I got a tia that's out there with the indigenous people on the forefront, pushing for good water, good vegetation, and give them their fucking land back, right? And then, of course, I got primos, one primo that started valley improvement projects in the city of Modesto, and another primo that's up in Washington, D.C., pushing the narrative for the brown people. So we're rocking. So this is where I'm derived from. This is the familia I come from. This is the blood that runs through my veins, that's in my body. But Sasuke, I was more on the norte. You know what I mean? I wanted to push it for my gente, which I believed were the northern people at that time. Now it's all people. You know, as we unite and come together, it's a beautiful thing. Sasuke, anyway, so I get out and I'm rocking, right? I'm rocking. And what happens is I start to hang around with more homeboys as they're getting out of jails and prisons that are indoctrinated a different way. See, the whole time I was incarcerated in YA, things had changed. Things had changed drastically. Gangbanging had got very real. This was the late 90s, 96, 97, 98 now I'm talking about. So the gangbanging was fucking hype. People were out there getting smacked every single day. You know, and for those of you that are like, well, Sasuke, it happens right now, gun as well. I'm sure it does, and I know it does, but at the same time, the 90s was just a little bit different. We was on a jungle, yeah, Morris Day. Oh, we. We was out there getting it, okay? By any means necessary. If you were an opposition or an adversary from the other side of the street, the other side of the corner, the other side of the block, the other side of the land where things weren't made for the average man, right? You were going to come up short. That's just it. So you always had to be on your wiggle. Now, I had already been domed. So I was on my P's and Q's. I was fucking dotting my I's and crossing my T's. My awareness was really up because it hurt and I didn't want to get hurt again. But at the same time, I knew what I signed up for. I knew what I was doing, and I was out there taking a chance with my life every day because I believe that this benefited my people, being a righteous soldado and being manpower, being out there on the front lines, having frontline status and putting myself on frontline status. That's what I was doing. So anyways, the first time I get incarcerated, I get caught with the piece. I get caught with the strap, you know, a little old dirty 380. So I can't call it like an alcoholic. Where I got it, I couldn't tell you today, but I just happened to find it. Maybe at a ramate or something, allegedly. But I have a little 380 and they snatch me up, man. I'm chilling in front of my homeboy's house and the placas roll up. And of course, his jefitos like, hey, get in my yard because they can't fuck with you. This is private property. They weren't hearing none of that. They were like, come here, you're on parole. I was like, nah, I'm off parole, man. I done did all my time. I shook that. They're like, it doesn't matter. You're a known gang member. I said, who said that? They said, we said that. Boom, they snatched me up. I had the piece on me. So they snatch it up. Of course, they take me to Sandy Mush. Now, at this time, this was my first time being in Sandy Mush. I've talked about it in other spills. Sandy Mush was basically like our branch, just like Sacramento. It's our road camp, right? It's where they incarcerate you if you don't have really no very bad charges like murder or attempted murder or home invasions, things of that nature. They'll throw your ass out there. And it's just like one big Disneyland, one big playground of norteños. We were out there kicking it. The embracement, the canalismo was real. But at the same time, I'm telling myself, damn, I just paroled just a few months ago. And here I am already living my worst life, right? But I was there. And I took right into the north. And at this time, you got to understand, this was late 96, early 97 was about to hit. And we weren't structured up like it is now. So I was scared. There wasn't wheelas being flown, and there wasn't homeboys doing burpees, and 22 counts weren't happening. If you wanted to work out, you worked out. Of course, we were all on our tippy toes. We were all standing firm in that concrete, ready for whatever. But they were not putting Southsiders in the buildings with us. They were in the bubble. They had their own building, or they were downtown on one block. So it wasn't like they were PC'd up or they wouldn't handle their business, because if one ever came across and one did wiggle before, Sasuke Vatos would get off where they were mad at immediately. That's just how it was. So it was just a whole bunch of norteños showing love to each other. It was like one big fucking pussy waiting to be fucked. It was a party, right? We were partying. Everybody was having it their way. So I remember doing about 6 months on that case. It was my first gun case, man. They couldn't prove it was mine, even though it was on me. You know what I mean? I was like, Sasuke, I don't know. I deny. I get a public defender. The public defender's like, okay, this is your first one, man. It was my first adult charge. Sasuke, you're going to get on that in about 6 months. I took a little deal. Where do I sign? Took a little deal and I chilled with the homeboys. It was all lovely. It was all good. So I get out, but now I have a criminal record, an adult criminal record. Now I haven't went to prison yet. And Sasuke, I had familia that was up in Oregon living at the time. While I was incarcerated in YA, my mom decided that for no other reason, she should move up to Oregon. Okay, so I hadn't even seen my jefita in over almost 7 years, but I had talked to her daily. So she's like, mijo, you need to come up here, leave that shit behind. It's different. Why don't you come check it out? And you can get a good highlight with your jefito, my stepdad. It'll be good for you. And I was like, nah, fuck that. I'm over here like, da-da-dum, I'm feeling, right? So I would go back and forth. About 1998, late 98, I decide that if for no other reason, and of course, there's a lot of things that happen in the meantime, in between time, and those are stories for a different day. Getting caught up was real. Prior to that, I had been stabbed in the eye. And, that was when fucking, I told the story, man, when fucking Tyson or Tupac got shot that night. I got stabbed in the eye. I had a 14. My eye got peeled backward. A lot of little things happened. Gangbanging. It was just your typical gangbanging. So I was like, you know what? I'm getting tired of this shit. I'm getting tired of making sacrifices and seeing all the homeboys on the pipa. They're all on the pipe around me, man. There's just a lot of indulging in hard drugs and things that I didn't like. I didn't like to see that. I had a tío that was a tecato. I had a tia that was a tecata. All they did was slam everything they could get into their veins. And I was aware that this is not the road I wanted to go down. But there was a lot of homeboys indulging, To what degree of indulgence they were doing? The most, right? They were doing the most. I didn't want to be around this. So about late 98, I decided for no other reason I should wiggle on up to Oregon and trip out on it and see what's cracking. Okay, upon getting to Oregon, it's all good in the hood. I get the little jale, my jefita. Now, let me tell you something about my jefita. My jefita's from the old school. She don't play that shit. I was there on a Sunday. I rode the Greyhound and shit. By Monday, she was like, you need to go to work. I was like, shit, I just got here. Give me a chance to eat a tortilla. She was like, fuck a tortilla. You need to go to work, right? Straight up. So I get a jale with my stepdad. Of course, I go. They're laying people off at this time. So Sasuke, I last about a week. They're like, Charlie, we don't need your services. I'm like, fuck you, puto. I'm going to get out there in the streets and wiggle then. I'm going to get it any way I can. Of course, at the same time, I'm in a land that I don't know about. I see a whole bunch of gawachos and a whole bunch of different type of people. It's not like califas. At this time, it was just a little bit different, right? So the wigglization was going to have to be way more real, but I stuck out like a sore thumb because, of course, I had a long-ass Mongolian and a lot of tattoos. Not like I have now, but I did have a lot. So people are staring at me everywhere I went, and I'm the type of person, I'm institutionalized. I don't like to be around a lot of people at this time. I don't like people looking at me. If you look at me, I feel like you're posing a threat and I'm going to get off, right? So it was a bad situation for me. So I wanted to go back to Califas, but of course I was sticking it out for my jefita's sake and for my sake as well, because I was trying to do good. I was trying to stay out the mix. Now I'm a fully functioning active norteño at this time, but there's no homeboys around me. I'm seeing a lot of graffiti, Sud, 18th Street, Tortilla Flats, La Primera Lez, fuck the world. I'm seeing all kinds of shit, but at the same time, I'm not seeing any XIVs or Huelga birds, so I know I'm on my own, right? I was on my own like a motherfucker. And so what happens is I end up getting kicked out of my jefita's house. She's not feeling it because I'm not working. And I end up meeting this vato. He's cool as fuck. And we end up becoming roommates. Now, at this time, I end up getting a good little job. So I got a good little jale. And we're doing our thing, man. We're roommates. We got another little roommate. Everything's good in the hood. And what happens is one day, I'm walking to, they have like a BART train station called the Max. So I'm walking to the Max. I'm going to go to my jefita's house. Simon, I was going to go wash some clothes over there. We had been cool. She's found out I got a job, got my own little pad. Everything was good. So I would wash my clothes at my mom's pad. So I'm going and it's late night. So I'm mobbing with my clothes in my backpack. Like, so I'm going to go wash my clothes. And of course, what happens is I'm walking with a partner of mine who was an Africano dude that I had met. Cool people. He had just got out of the pinta. And my roommate. And sabes que one thing leads to another. And this Africano pushes some dude. Right? When he pushes the dude, allegedly, the hat falls off his head. The guy takes off running. We're laughing. We take off around the corner. Next thing you know, surprise, guns and badges, blue suits, and white guys. Definitely white guys. We're in Oregon, right? We get locked up for robbery. They said we try to rob this guy's hat, steal his hat. I go to prison, right? The judge makes an example out of me. I'm from California. They're tired of people coming from California into Oregon and fucking up what they have there. We're messing up their whole program. So, of course, this is my first time going to prison. I'm in the pen, right? So I don't know what it entails. Okay, they end up shipping me from the reception that they had there, which was like a county jail, to this yard called EOCI, right? EOCI, which was Eastern Oregon Correctional Institution. So I go there, and right when I get there, it's a trip because I'm in the showers. They take you a shower, you're in R&R, you take a shower, and the placa sees my stomach. Now, at this time, I have a big old huelga bird on my stomach, and the placa said, the wind's blowing. What is that, right? It's a huelga bird. What's happening? He says, are you from Northern California? I said, supposedly, right? Of course, I'm already under the notion that you don't give up where you're from. You know what I mean? That's an admittance of where you're from. They can validate you. It's different from California to Oregon, though. They're like, Sasuke, hey, watch out. He's like, oh, there ain't none of you here. There ain't never been none of you here. You gonna have problems. And I was like, well, what does that mean? He goes, I don't know. I guess you'll find out. So now I'm aware that there's not a norteño in sight. You know what I mean? Nothing but sureños. So as soon as I hit the building, some little white guy comes and gets at me. And it's like a dorm setting. I forget what side of the yard I was on, man. It's been a long time. But he's like, hey, chip out, bro. What are you? You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm a norteño. What's happening? He was like, hey, bro. Here's a hot one. Here's a cup. Sasuke, here's a few little zuzus and wham-whams. Go ahead and put that in your locker. It's about to get ugly. Of course, at this time, a few sureños walk up to me, little youngsters, and they're from Oregon. They could have been from Califas. I can't call it, but they're there, and they're like, hey, where you from, homie? And I'm like, Norte, XIV was cracking, right? And they're like, hey, hit the yard. And I'm like, oh, well, shit, I got to, right? Of course, line movements are mandatory, but I ain't gonna lie, man. I was shook up. I was like, fuck, man, it's gonna be ugly. This is where it ends for me. This is how it goes down. So anyways, I hit the yard on the line movement. And I remember as soon as I get onto this yard, it's a very big yard. And there's people walking on this track. There's a weight pile in the middle of the yard. It looks like an old school pinta, right? Old school pinta. You got to understand, this place where they incarcerated me at used to be an old insane asylum that they switched into a pen. So it just looks old. Cucarachas everywhere. Fucking the rats, the roaches, the shiesty approaches, and a whole bunch of degenerate ass people walking around. So I sit down on these benches. I see a lot of vatos with long hair. They were Native Americans. I decide that if for no other reason, man, hey, maybe I should just sit down by them. And I remember taking my shirt off, huelga bird, bust, and eyes. And I sit down on this bench. They all get up and walk away like, fuck that, right? Of course, sureños are everywhere. I'm starting to spot all gente. I already know it's ugly for me. They're looking at me. So 3 vatos are walking and they're like, hey, let me get at you, bro, right? So I'm like, oh, shit. It's about to be windy, right? So I get off. I'm already under the assumption I need to take flight first before I get to this bin because I can see they're all posted up on this hill, and that's where they're going to kill me at, allegedly, right? So I'm going to get off before that. I already know this in my mind. I'm already set in my ways like, man, I got to get off. That's just what I have to do. Now, of course, if I could stay there, plant my flag, and establish for the homeboys, but Sasuke, there ain't never been a homeboy in sight. There probably never will be. So I'm like, fuck this at this point in time. So I go start walking with them, and that one of them's from 18, one's from Florencia, and the other one's from some local gang they got there. And they're like, hey, homie, where you from? So I tell them, and of course they're like, what? Right? They were thinking I was their homeboy, but of course they had heard the word on the curb from the other little Southsiders. So it's going to get ugly. It's going to get funky fast. So one of them tells me, hey, we ain't never had you vatos on your yard. You don't walk this yard, right? And I said, well, hey, bro, I'm here. You know what I mean? So I'm where they sent me. And he was like, look, homie, you're going to have to kick in if you're going to be on this yard. Boom! I kicked in with a fist, right? And it was on and cracking. I got jumped. I guess one of them had a pico de gallo. He scraped my back all up. And it was what it was. Yard down. I get taken to the oil like I'm the aggressor because I took flight first. And Vatos, they just wiggle back to their building. So I'm like, damn, that's how it works around here. I go to the hole. They give me a lockup order for 14 days. They put me in a cell with not Asian, so some Indio. He's pretty cool people, man. He's giving me the rundown how the makeup of the yard, because I didn't have enough time to even hit a chow hall or see what the yard was about. You know, it was just get off where you're mad at. So anyways, he's giving me the rundown. I'm in the oil. He's like, hey, bro, they're gonna move on you anytime you get out of the oil. They know what time it is. So every time that they would get me out of the oil, I took flight 3 different times. I took flight several different times, right? Every time they would bring me out, the first outsider I seen, I rushed them. I tried not to get off in front of the placa so as I could get mine, because that's looked at as a PC move. I already know what you're saying to yourself, right? Gunner, you were PCing up Charlie, homie. I was getting off before I fucking hit that yard and they scraped me, right? So I kept getting off. I made it as far as out of the building, into a building. I got off right there in the day room. I made it again to the chow hall one time after going to a building, made it to the chow hall, got off in the chow hall. Anyways, eventually they get tired of my ass and they ship me out. Now, quiet as it's kept, I run into some other Norteños, and how the story goes, it's all good in the hood. It ends up being cool. I've already told certain stories later on down the line. I catch a pegada on an Africano, and I catch more time. Okay, quietly as it's kept, it wasn't all that. I end up getting out. Okay, upon getting out, I immediately say, fuck this, and I go back to Califas. When I go back to Califas, all the homeboys are like, damn, homie, where you been? We heard you were in the pen up there. You were running wild like Hogan. You were handling your business. I said, you know what? I did what I had to do, bro, to maintain my northern status and to show that I'm down for what I'm down for. So I was still functioning. So the embracement was real. And it wasn't even no thing before I get caught up kicking it with certain homeboys that are en souls, right? At that time, they were considered hermanos. Hermanos were fucking en souls. That's what they're called now. They were part of the northern structure, or Nuestra Raza. So I have a homeboy that's Nuestra Raza at that time, allegedly, the homeboy Porky from Merced. I start hanging out with him. He starts taking me to safe houses or spots where homeboys are posted up. Now there's homeboys from Oakland, Salas, different towns, you know, and they're posted up. And to me, it's surprising that homeboys would be right there in Merced like that, because you just didn't see them out at night like that or out during the day. So I start getting the rundown, and they're like, hey, do you want to get pulled, Holmes? You know what I mean? You've already been down. You've already done time. We know you got a body when you were younger. You've been through YA. You know a lot of homeboys. So, of course, I'm like, yeah, me. I'm down, right? And I get pulled into the fold. Now, at this time is when dropouts were becoming prevalent. The word dropout I had never heard prior, other than way back in the days when you had heard old dropout NF members. There wasn't a lot of dropouts at this time. But we've been hearing that they're starting to form other gangs, dropout gangs like Northern Riders, 2-5, things of that nature. So the word was on the curb. You know, the word was out there. Me just coming back from another state, I wasn't too up to par on what was going on, but they quickly ran me down. So I'm getting educated into what it takes to become an end soul, and everything is crackling, right? And this was a quick push, man. It was kind of like, did I deserve to be an end soul at that time? I can't call it like an alcoholic, man. My love for it, my canalismo was there. My education was not it was slightly up to par, but it wasn't like I was the fucking most educated vato on the block, but I was striving, you know? And just like Big Box said in Paradigm Media News, when you're a striving norteño, a striver, you know, I'm out there. I'm willing to do what I have to do for the betterment of the casa, the betterment of my people, right? I was a true and firm believer. So these are the type of soldados they want, ones that'll do whatever's asked. Kind of like the movie Scarface. What do you think about him? I think he's a peasant. Yeah, but he'll fucking break his back for you, right? I was willing to break my back for the cause. I had been doing it, or other people's backs, and it was going to continue as such, right? So anyways, I get pulled. I'm kicking it with the homeboys. The regiment is established in the city of Merced. Oh, yes. Fucking Bob also hang out. The establishment was real. This was 2005, 2006. It was crack-a-lacking, right? So anyways, we're doing our thing. And my whole thing, I had a little crew. You know, I had a little crew. My homeboys, I don't want to say all their names. A couple of them are still active. One's passed away, and another one just got out, you know. He's a C, in fact, right? This was my little crew of little youngsters, man. And basically, they were associates. They were trusted anners, trusted northerners that were not necessarily in the regiment or not necessarily in souls, but the embracement was real. They were to be trusted. They were homeboys. And, you know, you utilize the manpower for whatever you need them to do. And at that time, my assignment, what I was doing was I was out there supposed to smack DOs. Any type of degenerate that came into town, I was supposed to clean up the trash. We're talking about defectors, NGNs, and dropouts. Now, let me give you the rundown. A dropout is someone who dropped out from the big four. NF, MA, AB, BGF. These are considered dropouts for those of you that don't know. Youngsters, open your ears. A defector is like an ENSOL or a sureño that's a defector. He defected from a prison organization. And a fucking NGN was like a no-good northerner, someone who never achieved that status, but at the same time, homes, they are in bad standings. There's differences. There's steps and levels to this shit, right? You guys don't know, but I know. And some of you do. Anyways, that was the quick rundown, abbreviated. Anyways, so my whole thing was to smack anyone of a fucking uncharacteristic nature, anyone that was considered basura or trash in the city of Merced, because what we had going on at that time, we didn't need everyone to know, allegedly, what we had going on. Anyway, so shit starts to happen, man. There's a lot of bullets flying in the city of Merced. There's a lot of things going on to which I'm not involved in, ever, right? And shit's happening. And I end up walking into a bar, and I've told this story before, and I see a dropout that's claiming Northern Riders, Cisco from Merced. I get off on him, me and a homeboy. Of course, I take the whole beef. We go to Juarez, Mexico. We're out there wiggling in Juarez, Mexico. I take this case. Boom, he gets out. I'm in. I take 4 years. Boom. About the same time I take 4 years, I'm already incarcerated, I'd say about 5 months before Operation Valley Star hits. Operation Valley Star was a RICO indictment that happened in the Central Valle, all the way from Modesto on back to Merced and Los Baños. They catch a whole lot of homeboys up, so I was glad I wiggled on that one, or I would never be here. There would never be no Gunners Collective. I would be locked up forever. But I was able to get out the way. I was already locked down. They already had me smacked down. And I ended up going from Tracy to Jamestown prison. Now, at this time, Jamestown was a no-good yard. And I've told the story how I get to Jamestown. I identify a vato from Delano that's in bad standings, and I flight him right in R&R. I handle my business. Of course, I had 72 hours to get off. I took 1 hour, right? I ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Then I proceeded to put hands on them. They put me in the oil. From the oil there, they shipped me to Corcoran, 4 yard. I'm in Corcoran. I'm kicking back. I meet a lot of good, righteous homeboys. I've talked about it. This is where I'm involved in my first pegada. You know, I get put on the squad. I've actually volunteered to get put on the squad as a hitter. I tell everyone, hey, I want to show what I'm really about. And, you know, and at this time, I'm an ENSOL. I don't have to do this. I don't have to volunteer. But when you're a true believer, you know, everyone needs to take the necessary steps to secure the household, right? So I'm like, I'll do it, carnal. It's all good. So I do my first pegada. That was quite a vicious one. We're not going to talk too much about it because I don't want to get locked up, right? I just do my little thing, and the time there is the time there, man. I end up doing my time, and eventually I get out. Okay. Upon being from there, they decide to ship me from there, right, to Jamestown again. So I don't know why, right? Or no, excuse me, my bad. They decide to ship me from there to Tracy. I have a new case, right? I have something that came up, sprang up. It's a shooting. They're saying I was involved in. Something happened in Merced. People are saying my name. I'm speaking to the detective, so I'm basically going back for a court case. They dropped all charges, so I wasn't there. My name's Bennett. I wasn't in it. So I'm thinking automatically I'm going to be shipped back to Corcoran prison, but I don't get shipped back to Corco. Charlie Holmes. They ship me from there to Susanville. I go to Susanville. The Norteños are all on lockdown. They're flipping the yard from the NGNs to the active Norteños. So I'm posted up right there with the homeboys. We ended up getting released to the yard. At this time, there was one C, supposed C, who was actually coming out to be a fucking degenerate-ass baboso named Evo from Castroville. His filth was found out later. And you guys all know the story. I hit the yard. Vatos were indulging in hard drugs. I wasn't feeling it. Sasuke. And bang, bang. I went out. I took flight. And then I get deemed all bad for red on red. Did I deserve it? I knew what I was doing. At the same time, man, other vatos were doing things that they shouldn't have done, and I called it like I seen it, and I made the necessary sacrifice, and here I am today. Anyways, from there, I ended up getting out of prison, and of course, it's all point bulletin. Vatos are looking at me some type of way. The first day I get out, I go to the parole office. Homeboys are looking at me. They're like, hey, bro, what happened in Susanville? They already fucking know. The wheelhouse went faster than my fucking bus ride did, right? I'm like, man, get off where you're mad at, bro. We're in the parole office. Wait till we walk down the street. So I ain't tripping, man. Fuck it. It is what it is. They're like, you know, hey, we ain't even tripping like that, bro. It is what it was. All the homeboys that get at you, of course, I'm sure they will. And I live in Merced for a lot of years, you know, several years, and nothing ever happens. Now, am I going to say the Norteños weren't about their business? Absolutely, they're about their business. Man, I know I was out there and the tradition was burning still. Motherfuckers would hit me if they see me, but I wasn't out there like that. I wasn't active anymore. I wasn't gang banging. I wasn't trying to get caught up in the mix. I was just doing my family thing with my old lady and my kids at the time. And Valtes used to see me and they hit me with one of these. Watch out. Watch. It's in slow motion. That's it. And it was all good in the hood. Eventually, I ended up moving to Livingston, Levos, where my baby's mother was from at the time. It got ugly and funky there a few times. That's where I was approached by several individuals. They're like, what's happening, bro? I'm like, what's happening? And I knew, I said, I got to get the fuck up out of Levos. Did they run me out of Livingston? Charlie, man, respect to the Valtes from Levos. But I knew that if for no other reason, it was only a matter of time before they found out where I lived and they smacked my whole shit up. So I bounced, right? Bounced back to Merced, was living, the living was real. And I continued to live my life. Now, about that time, I decided that if for no other reason, man, I should start talking to one of my tios and my tias, the ones that were down with the activism and pushing the movement as far as the brown people. And I started to get indoctrinated, educated into our cultura and our history, right? The brown berets, you know, all the Chicanismo, everything that was going on with the Chicano movements back in the 60s and 70s, LA, Delano, Huelga birds, the Huelga strike, Cesar Chavez, you know, my history, my Azteca history, the Mayan history. And I had learned a lot of this while I was in the oil and doing shoot time. But at the same time, I learned a lot of this as well from my tío and my tía. You know, they laced me up. So I believe that if for no other reason I was put on this earth, I was set here to push the narrative for the brown people. So we don't have a lot of voices. There's a lot of doors that are closed. We don't get a lot of love. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to make it happen. Let's get it, right? And so I decided that if for no other reason I should get it. And I've been doing it ever since. YouTube came along. I said, you know what? Fuck it. So I was scared. I'm going to do this YouTube thing. I decided that if for no other reason I should continue my narrative because I believe norteños, sureños, bulldogs, oh my, we're all good gente. We're all brown people at the end of the day. Regardless of what you're dedicated to in your cause, you have to remember, man, when you're a brown person, you have to carry yourself as such. So that's what I'm a true believer in. And I understand there's a lot of people out there that don't like it. There's a lot of people that don't like me. So I was scared. They think I'm a J-Cat. I talk fast. I'm a baboso. I should have stood strong. I did this or I did that. But no one's ever walked in my fucking boots. No one's ever walked on my shoes on them yardas. No one was where I was at that particular time. So they don't know exactly what happened. So shut your pinche mouth, baboso, because you don't know. Do you think I forgot how to use one of these? So I was scared. I know how to make them, use them, and I will. Bang, bang, and in that fashion. Am I posing a threat? Am I poisoning gente? Charlie, I'm not poisoning gente. If you want to gang bang, gang bang. If you don't, you don't. So I was scared. At the end of the day, I'm just saying I'm right here pushing for the brown. That's what I do. And in that fashion. With that being said, man, I hope that you move fast with a purpose. There will be a part 3 because I'm scared. We're going to talk about some other shit in a little while. There will be a part 3 to my profile. But anyways, I hope that you move fast with a purpose. I hope that you get everything that you want coming to you. If this answered a few questions, so I was good, then it answered a few questions. If it didn't, it didn't. Anyways, please hit that like and subscribe if you like this. If not, hit that thumbs down. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Go to Gunners Collective. I talked about me getting shot in the head. It was ugly, but it happened. It's a fact, and I'm going to continue to push for the raza. You see those arms? One bigger than the other. So, yeah, I've done a lot of time. Bang, bang.